Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Stat Me Up for Anfield Index. This is the metric you all like, people. The Reds are 11 points clear at the top of the league. Yes, Arsenal may have a game in hand, but when you can't even score, what does that actually mean in real terms? And here to flip the metrics on his head, probably I bet his abacus has had to be balanced as well as his spirit levels this week with the different stats and different things we're going to go through. But 11 points clear in the sunshine, Barts. There's a lot to be happy about, isn't there?
For sure. 11 points clear with 11 to go is not a bad place to be. 100%. So a win tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? Have I got a day right?
Yeah.
Wednesday. Win tomorrow, and that'd be amazing.
Win tomorrow would be amazing with, say, 11 games to go, people. 7 of them at home. The title is well and truly in our destiny. And maybe that's why me and Barts have got retro kits on. I've got a proud 86 one there, which was a vintage year, wasn't it? So let's see if these boys can emulate them. I mean, we've got to start with this City game, Barts. And when I saw the headline stats and even the eye test that we always talk about, if someone wants to tell us before 34% possession, usually a Liverpool game, that's the opposition where we've drubbed them, where there's been like garbage time and we've absolutely, just destroyed them, all ends up. But we end up here with 34% possession for domination. We let them have the ball. They just can't get through us. I'm fascinated to see what the metrics say because the eye test, we let them have the ball and we dominated them. Simple as that.
Yeah. I think there's always two ways to play a game, isn't there? So I think it's important to know, as Rafa used to say as well, I think Klopp to a certain degree.
Oh, that may be a bad time for the signal just to have gone. Yeah, I'm interested to see what Rafa and Klopp did say. But just why I know, because he's messaged me there, Bart's fingers crossed to say he is heading back. 34% possession. Not too many shots on target. But ultimately, Liverpool are successful 2-0 victors in this. So, fingers crossed, ladies and gents. I think he's just going to come back. There would always be the tech issues from a Palace in Mauritius, but I think we've got him. There we go. So, Bart, I'm intrigued now. You're going to have to tell us, what did Klopp or Rafa say?
Well, they always said, Rafa more defensively and Klopp not. It's more important to reduce stress on your own system than it is sometimes to approach stress on an opponent's system. So Rafa would always try and frustrate. He'd set up, he'd block all the passing lanes, but he'd also have an outlet to go and do it. So he would make sure that the opposition system wouldn't enable them to create the opportunity to do that. Klopp would always go and put a load of pressure on the opposition system and create stability and then create opportunities to score. Defensive, though, he was still spot on. He would always try and maneuver them and control the space in which they could play. Okay, but in a very attacking way. So Klopp would say, look, I'm going to let you play in these areas. And when you're in those areas, we're going to press you really high and we're going to win the ball, we're going to attack. Whereas Rafa would say, I'm going to let you play in these areas. And we might win the ball or we might just concede possession, knock it out. And then when we get possession, we'll play smart, we'll play on the counter or that kind of thing. So two different philosophies, but fundamentally controlling space, right? What we did to City was the top line stats here are actually not that bad. I mean, I know the headline is 38%, 34, whatever. I've got 38, whichever way you want to cut. They had more of it. They had more field tilt. And all that we're sitting there going, oh my God, 80-20 field tilt, that kind of thing. But when you break it down to the shots, 5-4 on target. So they only had one more shot on target than we did. Penalty box shots was level, 6 apiece. They put big chances. They had no big chances, and that's probably one of the biggest takeaways to take away from going to City. they didn't create a big chance, right? They only created 0.63 xG. I think it was an average 0.4% shot quality in terms of that, what they had. So that's an amazing defensive performance. We let them only have just over 30% threat, right? I'm sorry, 30% conversion of threat to xG, which again, as viewers on here will always I'll always say, keeping that below 100, below 50 is an elite, below 100 is a good defensive performance. So we had it below 30 nearly. Ours, yeah, all right, fair enough. We only give away 70, but yeah, a set piece goal would do that. I think Slot spoke in the week about not having the ability to get not a cheap goal, but an easy goal from a set play. And he got that in this game.
Yeah.
The other key thing that viewers will remember is PPDO, which is the measure of how well you defend shots on target and how well you take shots on target. So 1,000 is even. We were at 1,500 for this game. So that gives you that we were outperforming. Ironically, City were at 500. So they were well under. So they didn't have a lot of shots on target. What they did was save, and they didn't have to save a lot of shots on target. And then 2 out of the 4 ends. So that's 50-50. So that, again, some of the underlying metrics shows you that that's our ability to control space. The second first half splits, it's much the same. Apart from the first half, we scored 2 goals. Second half, we didn't. Could we have scored more? We had equal XG in both halves, which is probably something. Threat conversion was a little bit lower in the second half, but people always say, did we go longer in the second half? No, we didn't. We actually kept the ball a bit better when we had it in second half. City are remarkably low in terms of their long ball rate. I think that's 7 in the first half, 4 in the second half. So that shows you they still have that tiki-taka. People talk about Pep maybe changing. He's still got his fundamental principles. Some of the key things on the Monte Carlo. So, as I said on UP last night, one of the things when you run models is they're based on an output. So if that output is low, then the model will give you results that you might not think. So the result here was the best result it said was 0-0. And that's because the XG for both sides was below 1. So if you run a model of 10,000 times, it's more likely to come out a draw. We were still nudged it at 1-0. One was 14% and 1-0 to City was 17%. But a draw or a win to us was the more favourable, which is why we were 34% more likely to win the game rather than City with 27, and the draw was 38. So but we controlled that space. We let City only play where we wanted them to play. I had some personal stuff to do yesterday, so I didn't have a lot of time on UP to talk about the City game. But pass maps, the thing is with City, you'll look at that and you'll think, loads of pick lines and the rest of it. But did they get the key areas? No. We kept them here. There's no one in zone 14, which is where Kevin De Bruyne, probably one of the greatest Premier League players of all time, didn't normally operate. Normally around here, picks the ball up, puts balls in behind. Foden as well. He's not in there. There's no significant amount of movement in here. Not a lot down the right. So a very compact space. So we said we're not going to let you play in this area here. Okay. Conversely, how did that affect us? It meant we were very right side dominant. Diaz did his work off the ball, didn't do a lot of work on it. And the midfield 3 were forced over a box, and they were pretty damn exceptional off it. But on it, they were just functional, working out where to get the ball, where to get the play. Just to break that down even more, if we go into a bit of this on ball looking at it, okay, if we look at our passing. So again, we always talk about, did we let City in the important areas? If you look at all of these, we might have let them in some of the half spaces, but there's hardly any balls in behind into our box. And for us to do that to City is exceptional. Meanwhile, we didn't have a lot of joy. We had joy in the instances to score, but that is about it. Long balls and crosses for us fairly minimal. They hardly play long balls, but different. So that's the kind of on ball, if you like, threat. Not a lot to write home about, I'm being really honest. We created it from deep. We sat deep, so therefore we're going to play some short intricate passes and some passes behind. It's not really the on-ball stuff isn't really the story of the game for us. Off-ball though, if we look at our defensive actions off-ball, which is PPDA, you'll see that incredibly red in our defensive third, which tells you the amount of action work we put into stopping them getting to that area. If you break it down by half, so this is first half, we had a lot of work to do. Second half, less so, because we managed to push City back a bit, so there was less. So you see here, the first half, Trent, I think, got dribbled past him like 3/4 of a number, about 6 times in the first half. Second half, we didn't, because we managed to double up a bit better. So, and I think also what's good from this, in the last 2 games, actually, we've started to get our off-ball work better. So previously we were winning it and we were like, oh, what do I do now? It was a bit hustle and bustle. We didn't have a set way of going. I want to get to Mo, I want to get to that. Here we had win, get it into certain areas, and then we'll play. Win, get it into certain areas and play, which is a welcome return. And a game gives you that tactical masterclass, if you like, from Slot. He was like, look, we need to beat City this way. This is what you need to do. And I also have to say, the players have played. So when was Everton? So we had Everton, Wolves, Villa, City, right? We have largely played 4 different types of set-up formation tactical plans.
Yeah.
And had no real training. So these guys have done it off the back of watching video. Effectively, it's like last night on the EV. It's like basically they haven't been out on the training ground to run through these things. They've just gone, right, today you're going to set up this. You need to watch this video because this is what you're going to need to do. And they've executed it. A couple of little things here and there would have been sitting with 4 wins on the bounce. You know? So, and I think these off-ball zones here gives you an indication of where we were playing mostly, which is in these areas here. Robert having a larger area, Trent very concentrated, Mo helping him out, and Dare's helping him out. And you see the right side here, you had Dom, Mac, all coming over to help out with Trent. And then you had City. Normally they have a 3 here as a defensive shape. Guavia was a little bit deeper than normal, but that's because he was trying to help deal with Mo. In midfield, they didn't. If the player hasn't got a zone, by the way, it means they didn't do a lot of defensive work, right? Not being harsh, but that's just how it works. So their 6 here has got a zone. De Bruyne, Doku, Foden hasn't. Savio on the right put some more work on. Mamouche didn't do anything. So off the ball, that is. So yeah, it kind of gives you that on and off the ball to very different pitches. Whereas the Villa game, I thought we played an amazing game. Actually, we just didn't get the result. We considered our first 2 shots on target, and it didn't quite work out. But that was a good on the ball performance. This was just a way we said, look, you ain't playing today. Like, you can do all of that if you want, but you ain't coming in here. You're not coming in our box, and you're not creating. And yeah, as I said, I keep coming back to us. Us doing that was amazing. And still, and I said the one thing with Rafa when he did that, you must have he was with me. Going away to Barcelona and New Camp and blocking out with 11 behind the ball. Yeah. He didn't really have an outlet, right? It was just kind of 2 lines, just basically saying we will not concede. In this game, we did at times. We carried massive threat on the counter. We had 4 against 3s. We had 3v2s. We were overloading sides. So when we needed to, we went up the other end and got a set piece which we scored from. And then 5-10 minutes later, got the second. And then after that point, I don't know about you, but I kind of felt fairly chilled. And I know that's a weird thing when it's like an hour to go away to City, but I was kind of like, I think we'll be all right here, you know. So that's probably the on-off ball for us. 2 very different sides of the game. Something I think we have to give massive credit to Slot. I don't think many of us would have expected him to be that great. In his first season in the Premier League, to go to Pep, who's arguably been the greatest tactician of this era, bar Klopp, and just basically say, "Oh, this is how I'm going to beat you. You can try it, but I'll beat you." So it was an exceptional performance and one of champions.
It's just insane. As Midnight Toker says there, it just shows that On is a great tactician. And we'd almost talked about it because I remember last week you said you probably need to beat them in a certain period because of the risk of fatigue. It was just, we almost just flipped the switch on so much, 4 midfielders, all those types of things that come in that didn't expect it. But everyone delivered, Barts. You've got to say that. It was such a good performance in that regard. But there's one player, if you tell me I'm wrong, we'll never speak again. Mo Salah, an absolute god by any metric. I mean, we say every week his numbers were off the chain, but again, in this one, absolutely brilliant. A goal and assist. But I am intrigued. Do the stats show almost that he might even have been our best right back this game? Because how many times when Doku went past Trent was Mo there to pinch it repeatedly? I mean, his stats, I'm fascinated to see what they say in this one.
I mean, this is his on-ball stuff, right? He is above all the metrics.
Yeah.
Right? So these metrics are the average for his position on the pitch. That includes Mamouche, that includes everybody, right? Normally, he's above for 5 out of 7. He's above for every single one. So, and shots, he's the highest. It just, that's like a phenomenal. Yeah, that's just what you expect now. I expect a bit harsh because that's a phenomenal, but that is a phenomenal performance, right? There's no way to about that. But as you said, I mean, Mamouche, to be fair, to give a little bit of credit, he's probably above on 1, 2, 3. He's above on 3 out of 7, right? He had not a bad game for City. I will try and be a little bit balanced, but if we look at, like you said, so what did he help out off the ball? Yeah, so Salah here, this is his off ball. So he had 60% dual success, right? Which is better than Diaz, better than McAllister, better than Endo, to be fair, and that wasn't long, and better than any defender. Now, carry that slightly that defenders don't normally get into a duel, right? Apart from the fullback, but that's still, considering it's not his first trade, should we say, that's a pretty damn good, you know. I mean, the thing that Mo definitely doesn't do often is win an aerial duel.
Yeah.
That's not an attacking, that's a defensively, he's won an aerial duel. That's just something you do not see Mo Salah doing. And if you look at where he had 50, let's have a look at his touches. He had 23% of his touches in the defensive third. Again, something you just don't see him doing.
Wow.
You see him maybe double figures, but not nearly 25% core of his time. He's normally over nearly 50% in the final third. Do you know what I mean? So he's definitely was helping out as much as he could. I mean, attacking wise, just to complete the picture, he had 16% of our EPV threat, which is the third highest with Mac and Trent, fairly standard. For a normal player. He received the ball. So remember when you're away from home and you're pretty much the only outlet, you have to receive the ball. You have to. 97% of the time he received it, controlled it, and it was overplayed off. This is what Núñez got criticised for a bit apart, because he wasn't offering anything, right? He missed his chance, and then his receiving success was in around 56%. So that's what he got criticised for. If you look at what he did, his pass success, again, we talk about that TMM a lot. What does he do? He's taking risks, but he still was very careful. That's nearly 75% of his pass success. That's really good, like really, really good.
Yeah.
Penalty box touches, if I can just find that, I'll be down here. So where was he for penalty box touches? PK box touches. So he had 10. So in a game where we're backs against the wall, he's still got in their box 10 times. Which, just to put it in context for you, just because we're trying to be nice, that is more. So Doku and Salvino got in the box more than Mo. Nobody else on the City side did. Not even Mamouche. So that's and they had the ball, right? You know, we talk about opportunities to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
They had the ball to get in the box. We didn't stop them. Mo found a way to get in the box that many times with only 34% possession. It was brilliant. I mean, we often talk about another candidate. And there was pictures on, anyone who saw the Athletic article of Szoboszlai on the floor, completely knackered. And he, again, his metrics here, he's probably above 6 out of 7 of the metrics, which is pretty damn good. We look at what he did. So Dom is here. He's listed as a forward, which you won't see very often because of his average position. 50% duel rate. Okay. He didn't win any aerials. That's fine. He had four penalty box touches, which is good. We look at what he did on the ball. So Szoboszlai, 8% of EPT threat, which is brilliant. He would have had more if he'd been slightly onside for the Curtis goal. He'd have probably hit more than double figures for that. Receiving not as high, but it's okay. It could have been better. That could have been one area. Could have been better. Curtis was up at nearly 90% receiving success, but then Curtis doesn't give the ball away. He hardly ever gives it away.
Yeah.
Nearly 84% passing for Curtis and just under 80 for Dom. But no, I don't think there was a bad performance. Like, I know people were, Trent got drilled box, but he still created 18% of that threat. He received the ball pretty successfully. His pass success was 71, which is pretty high for him considering he takes risks. 13% of our on ball time. Trent had just have a look now. Yeah, Trent had the most combinations with our players with 100% success.
Yeah.
So, and off the ball, people have a go because he got drawn past 11 times, but he won his aerials. Okay, didn't win a lot of ground duels. Fair enough, but I think Doku created about 1% threat of XG, or 10% of XG out of 11 attempts against him. So I think sometimes you've got to look at the bigger context and say, what actually happened? Was that a deliberate tactical ploy from Slot to say, all right, Trent's going to put effort in, but he's going to get beat. Therefore, we need to make sure what the next ball is dealt with. And the team did that. But in Doku doing that 8 timer, every time Doku went and took 3-4 touches against Trent, you're basically losing 30 seconds. Yeah, it's not a quick, sharp pass. If he just slotted that back into zone 14, that's a far more dangerous area to worry about than Doku out and let wide left one move on with Trent. It might look, the TV will love it, but look at Trent, he's getting beat again, he's doing this.
Yeah.
But actually, he's out there. There's a 50-50 chance Trent blocks the cross. And the way we were dominating the box, and then we had 4v2 in the box a lot of times, we had the numbers to deal with any cross that came in. And we did. So sometimes I think we all try and say, take a step back from what the comms are saying and say, look, was that actually part of the plan? You know, and I think it probably was, and it paid off. To be honest, we got. I mean, going 2-0 to City, I can't get over it, mate. I can't. I'm like giddy at the moment. It's like, you know.
I can't believe we sit here now on a Tuesday night ahead of Newcastle and we're summarising Manchester City. And let's be factual about this, people. We're saying Mo Salah was brilliant in his defensive actions and in the box. We're saying Mo Salah won an aerial duel. We're saying the stats, because of where he played, almost classed Dominic Szoboszlai as a forward for this. And just the way everything skewed completely. But exactly as you said, Barts, it's right to be giddy. It's right to be positive about everything that happened. You've got to give the credit to Arne Slot for the tweaks and what he did and how hard they worked, haven't it? Everything went to plan.
Yeah. Everything was spot on. And you've also got to remember, he had a balancing act, right? He had Trent in a red zone. Yeah. He had Curtis in a red zone. Yeah, he had players that he knew, as we said on the last week's pod, he had to win it in a certain period because these guys could only give him X, right? Jota could have started. I mean, that was the hands on whether or not it would have meant we'd have played 4-2-3 or whether Jota would have played a DS. But anyway, that's a last minute pull out because they would have set up with Jota on the side. But so he had a limited time to do what he needed to do, and he got it done. Whether Trent plays tomorrow, I'm not convinced. I think Jota might come back in, but we'll come on to that. We'll talk about Newcastle. Yeah, but I thought it was a truly one of those performances, a bit like Bournemouth away from it, where you just go, yeah, these boys are the best in the league.
And if anything, you take away from that, the metric, Liverpool are the best in the league. What a game. What a one to review. I never think we'll say 34% possession and domination again. We will see what the next games bring. And as Bart's talked about, it is Newcastle coming up. And they're an interesting team, Barts. They do bring a threat. I mean, they are fifth in the league. They've won half their games. That's important to say on retail stats. They have lost 8 as well. And if you look at their goals and assists, and I'll be intrigued what understats say on this, scored 46, but shipped 36, which is a lot. If you look at their form as well, they have lost 3 of the last 5. And even yesterday, people talk about their result. Now, it's a couple of days ago, wasn't it? They were Sunday as well.
Yeah.
They were 4-1 up at half time, although they win just 4-3 and they were holding on a bit on occasion. So they are a team that can score, but they're a team that can ship a lot as well. And we talk about threats. Isaac, 19 goals. That's the one to keep an eye on. Anthony Gordon starting to hit a little bit of form. 11 goal contributions, 6 goals and assists. And even a name that people wouldn't have maybe predicted at the start of the season, but Jacob Murphy there with 13 goal contributions in 23 games. So 5 goals and 8 assists. There are goals in this team. There's also a leaky defence in this team. So I am intrigued to see what does understats say about these boys.
So understat after Potter is a dark moment. But they, as you said, they've scored 46, conceded 37. Understat has that bang on for goal scoring. Like they should have scored 46, right? Conceding wise, though, they should have conceded 39. So they're about 3 under. So they're overperformed by 3 goals.
Yeah.
It's not a massive amount. They have 4 points more. No, 4 points less than they should have. So Understat probably has them. Understat has them actually much lower down the table. So Understat has them about Fulham in terms of performance. Just to give you some instances there, their form over the last 4 hasn't been as good as they were. I know lots of 5, but the previous, like, if you look at a 10-game stretch, the front of that 10, they were pretty bad. They were really red hot. Then they got battered by City. They only just got over line of Forest. They've had another couple of, they got beat by Bournemouth as well in this, but they've had a few rocky results, should we say. I still don't think, this is probably famous for our last words, but they're not great at playing twice a week.
Nah.
That's why they fell out of the Champions League so badly 2 seasons ago, whenever it was, because they couldn't play twice a week. So I think he's very good at setting the side up for a game, but he's still learning how to manage that going forward. They have shown signs of improving it, but it's not great. They're away form, just to see where they are in terms of away, because I have a funny feeling they're very different away. Scored 22 away, should have scored 23, so they're underperforming. Should have conceded 20 away, and they've conceded 19. So they're underperforming at both ends, away from home, and points-wise, they are 2 over. So they should have got more less points away from home. So, I do think there might be a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde, should we say. Shooting, we always look at to see what they do. Shots they take, I mean, that they're fairly much, apart from the City game where they got battered, they are generally above 12 to 15 shots a game, with about a third to a half of those on target. So that's reasonable. XG, they are curating. It's weird. The pattern here is 2 less than 1, 2 less than 1. Less than 1-2. So that's a little bit odd, but there you go. In terms of what do they let the opposition have, they are about 10, probably about 12 shots they're conceding. They've had a 17 in the weekend now, which would be a little bit of an alarm bell if I was the Forest, if I was the Newcastle coaching staff. And they've conceded around 1.5 XG, I would say, pretty averagely for the last 5 games. So a team that, when they perform, are around 15 shots, creating 2 XG when they're on it. When they're slightly off it, they're around 10 shots and less than 1 XG. Conversely, they're conceding about between 12 and 15 shots a game and around 1.5 XG. So that's some interesting things. I mean, Isaac, we profiled, was it last week or 2? I think it was.
Yeah,
he's
last week.
A very good forward. I don't think you're gonna find many people argue about that. He's a very good player. The Anthony Gordon loves a game against us, unfortunately. So he'd be one to work on. Particularly, the concern for me in this game is, does he risk Trent?
Yeah.
Because we do have a gap until we've got a little bit of a period of time. We don't play Saturday.
Yeah, a week. Yeah.
So, but Trent is running extremely hard. So, but the problem you've got, if you don't play him, you've got to play Konza, and then you might have a repeat of the away game. So, it would be interesting to see what he does with that. Up front, I think you might see him go back to a 4-3-3, play Jota. Jota should be fine if he's was on the bench that we can then play. I don't think there's any chance. Well, I'd say that. I don't think Nunes won't play, won't start. I don't think Chiesa will start. He could, but the other one, that CJ and Dom are both now red, if you get what I mean, because they're both in doing the amazing box midfield, or however you want to look about it, all 4 midfielders at the same time. So you might see a half and half done there, or Mac will start, obviously, Grab will start, but the other team might have a little bit of rotation on. And you may see Harvey later on in the game. But other than that, I think it'll be largely the same team. Mo will play. I can't see why Diaz wouldn't. Or Cody had a sub, didn't he? He might start. They might roll in on the rotation. The rest of the back four will play and Annie will play. So, it'd just be whether or not Jota plays instead of one of the midfielders. And then if the CJ and Dom do a half each. But the big call for me is, who is he going to play at right back? If he plays Trent, okay, we might have to try and win it at half. But it's one of those, though. I think he will look at it as a risk reward. If he wins that game on Wednesday, I think, are Arsenal playing Forest at the same time?
Yeah, 45 minutes before. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I know we're all sitting there going, the boys are saying it, we'll get them with the league, the rest of it. But, I mean, this really could be the night, right? Because if Arsenal get beat at Forest and we beat Newcastle, that's a 14-point gap. Yes, they have a game in hand, but that is double figures. And to put people into context, Arsenal have 12 games to play. Yeah, so they have 36 points on offer to get. They are rapidly running out of games to get anywhere near the maximum needed to topple us, right? So I think they're almost at an equation now. If they don't win on Wednesday, they have to win every game, right? Whereas we can get to 90 or high 80s with winning all our home games, which includes them. So that's a double pointer. And then picking up another win away from home. So there's the mathematical connotations are starting to come into play, and we're still quite far out, but the road is running out for Arsenal, and the pressure will be massively on them tomorrow night. They will have to get a result. Meanwhile, I don't think Slot would not want to win the game, but he might allow himself a little bit of managing it like a dead 45. He might try and kill one of the halves of football and then try and win it at 45. He might do something like that, because he's, as much as we have got weeks break, you just don't Trent has a history of re-injury. You don't want to get a re-injury with Bradley also out because you're going to need it for the week later.
Win it in 45 against Newcastle might be the trick. Not risk Trent too much might be the trick. Mo Salah at right back, based on his stats from City, might be the trick, realistically. Who knows? But I never thought we'd be doing a show where we'd say 34% possession and absolutely dominant in everything. But the stats say what they say. So there we go, ladies and gents. Just over 24 hours from Newcastle. As Bart said, could that gap go even more than 11 points? Dare to dream, as we do. All that leaves me to say as ever is, Bart, for the time, the insight, and for the stats as ever, it is much appreciated, pal.
No worries, anytime.
And ladies and gents, that was another Stat Me Up